Hello folks, it's Abfielder here and welcome to another YouTube video on Minecraft, and today it's part 2 of the farmer mechanics video that I did the other day. Now on that video I built 4 different farms ranging from a single pod, and when I say a single pod I mean basically the maximum number of farmable squares you can put around a single water source, and then 2, 3 and 4 pods. And I came to the conclusion that the most efficient farm was somewhere between a single one, so 80 farmable blocks, and a larger 160 farmable blocks. So in my tests, the 160 farmable blocks was by far and away the most profitable. This is the one we're looking at right now. But my theory was this was actually, it didn't need to be this big, because even in an 80 farmable block farm, the villagers were not harvesting all the crops available. And I think that's down to a little bit of randomness in how farmer mechanics work, in that they must look around and choose whether they're going to go and farm a block or not, and they don't always go straight to one. So if they have more blocks available, they're always harvesting something. So I figured that around about 100 or so blocks and you'd be pretty much on the money. And I wanted to prove this today because I was having a chat with someone on Reddit, and they brought up a very good point, was that I kind of didn't prove that. And also they were asking a question around about bees. Now bees will fly over flowers, they'll get pollen, and then they can pollinate your crops. And the question was, do bees have an impact? Can you have a smaller farm with bees? And I saw a link to another YouTube video that the chap posted and had to watch that, and it looked like potentially yes. So what you can see here is my design that I use in my stackable farm, and that is 108 farmable blocks. And so I built the exact design that I use, and I've also built this one that's on screen now, where I have replaced 9 of those blocks, so we now have 99 farmable blocks, and some flowers with a beehive in the centre. And I want to prove which farm is the most efficient, which one gives us the most stuff. So we can already discount the 3 and 4 farmer pods. They are simply too big. Okay, and what I mean by too big is that a farmer can only see about 15 blocks. I think it's 15 blocks. So if a farmer is at one end of a large farm and there is crops available to harvest at the other end, they can't see it. Once they work their way back, so they see some crops in the middle or whatever, then they can see it, but it becomes less efficient. They also don't get across to the villager in the evening and share the crops. They only seem to share the crops at a particular time of day, which is in the afternoon, sort of evening, just before it gets dark. So they're simply too big. My tests proved that they weren't yielding anywhere near the same number of crops as the 160 farmable block. So what I'm going to do today is I built these designs. I've changed the 81 farmable block. I've extended it so it's got flowers all around the edge, as well as a hive in the middle with bees. I say around the middle, it's on the side. I actually, when I was designing the farm and I ran these tests, I'm kind of retrospectively speaking now, and I found that actually having the hive on the side was a terrible idea. The bees never fly over the crops. So I do change this, and then I do a 2-hour and a 4-hour test. I'm going to skip over the 2-hour because it's not that interesting and the results don't change anything. And we're going to go into the 4-hour, but I have changed the parameters of the test a little bit. In that what I've been doing up until now is making sure the crops are fully grown, and then I set the timer. And I kind of wondered, was this influencing the results? Like, the bigger farm has more crops to yield to begin with. Is that first harvesting of crops swaying the outcome? Because there wasn't a huge difference between it. So in this instance, I actually ran the farm for 2 hours with that test. And then at the end of the 2 hours, got my results. And then I didn't change the villagers. What I normally did was just kill all the villagers, put some fresh ones in there, start the test again. This time I didn't kill the villagers. So they all should have crops in their inventories and they should be ready to throw them straight out, whatever they harvest. And I figured that might give a slightly fairer result. So all I did was empty out the chest, and we can see what happens in 4 hours time. So yeah, I'm going to pause this video now, and through the magic of video editing, I will be back with the results. Okay, here we go then folks. So I am in front of the 81 pod farm, or 81 farmable blocks. And after 4 hours in this farm, we have 900 carrots. So we have the bees flying around, they do drop pollen. And it has marginally increased the output from this farm, but as you can see, not massively. Now the one thing I will say here is I do wonder if there is a problem with my design. Whether that's I need different types of flowers or I need more bees, I don't know. They don't seem to pollinate a lot of crops. They seem to fly across to the flowers and then fly back. And you see them dropping pollen, and they do occasionally increase the crop yield. They make it grow quicker. So you do get marginally more carrots, but you're not getting a lot. So there is scope that, and let's just go into spectator mode and then I can fly in here. There is scope that this farm could potentially be improved. Potentially. But I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. But please, put something in the comments and let me know. I'm more than happy to come back to this and do more tests. I've quite enjoyed it. So let's now head over to the last winner, the winner of the last tests that we did, the 160 farmable blocks. And as you can see, there is a decent improvement. Best part of 200 carrots more. So we've gone from 900 to 1,089. No bees in this one, just extra farmable blocks. And I think that's a pretty good test. It shows you that having more blocks does increase the yield. And also that the effect of bees is probably not that high. So, and this is I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the fact that bigger farms decrease the efficiency. The gap between the back and the front is over 15 blocks. So when they are at the back, they can't see the front. And that's, I think, a problem. Okay, so here we are onto my design of farm, but with the flowers. So you end up with 99 farmable blocks instead of 108. And this is what I'm talking about. You get an improvement. So it's not much. It's in the variants where actually you look at it and you think, well, I could do either design. It won't make a lot of difference. It could just come down to the villagers and then chucking the food to the other villager. They might just not have chucked quite as much. But you get a little bit extra, but you're using nowhere near as many blocks. You're using 99 farmable blocks in this one with bees, and they're probably doing a little bit more work in here than they are in the other design. They're flying over a few more crops. And again, you could potentially improve the design so they fly over more. So yeah, an improvement, And like I say, if you want honey, then absolutely fair enough. This is probably a pretty good design. You get honey. You might want to move the hive to somewhere where you can get to the honey nice and easily. But let's go over to this farm, which has no bees. This is the design I use in my stackable farm. And boom. 1,132, and there we go, actually a bee. Let's just distract ourselves from the result. So as you can see, he's over the flower, he's gathering the pollen, and he'll just fly straight back to his hive. He will drop pollen. So once he's collected the pollen, there we go, he's got pollen. You can see his kind of skin has changed, and you see him drop it. Nothing happened, nothing grew there because the stuff he dropped it on just, I think, is already grown. Looking at that. In fact, it might not be. For whatever reason, it didn't grow. That's why I think you can probably optimize this farm a little bit. So yeah, but if we go back anyway to the winner of this test, no bees, and there's 108 farmable blocks, 1,132. So what? The 250. My maths is terrible. Quite an improvement. So there you have it, folks. If you want to build an efficient farm and you get the most crop yield, then I'm kind of winning here, folks. 108 farmable blocks in that pattern. It means that the farmer, wherever he is standing, can see all the available crops to harvest. That's why it's more. You're getting a higher output than the 160 block farm. Because if he is over in that corner, he can see to the far side and he can see if there are any crops that need harvesting. So there we go, this is my farm. This is my stackable farm where I've done 4 pods close together. This farm will give you the most crops that you need. Now this is kind of important for, if you want villager farms, because if you're on a server you want to cause the least amount of lag, so you want a very efficient farm. I'm just wondering why it wasn't collecting wheat there. It's because it's stacked up, it's full. I've only got one single chest down below. Yeah, so you want your villagers to work as hard as possible. This farm will do it for you. 108 blocks. I know my sign says 113 blocks down the bottom here. I counted wrong. It's 108. So there you have it, folks. Build this farm. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click the like button. If you'd like to see more of my content, hit the subscribe button.